Hello and welcome to the unit overview video for From Striving to Thriving, Trauma and the Social Emotional Alphabet, created and presented by Heidy LaFleur. I'm very excited to have all of you here with us today. I hope that you enjoy this class. I want you to know that everything that we do is what I do, and I want you to know that there's nothing in this class that I'm going to make you do that A, I wouldn't do, B, I don't do, and C, wouldn't improve your practices. So we aren't going to waste time. I'm going to have you read things and create things and do things that you are actually going to use in your classrooms, so it's all relevant and it makes sense. So we're going to introduce ourselves first. We're going to have a couple discussion boards in some of the modules. So when you go to this discussion board module 1, you will see a place for introductions. Please introduce yourself there. I'm very excited to get to know all of you. All of the modules are live documents. So when you create something and you edit something in there, know that everyone sees it, and we will go on to the modules. In this class, there are 6 modules. Number 1, trauma's impact on the brain, the body, and behavior. Module number 2, trauma-informed versus trauma-informed in action. Module number 3, acknowledgement before accusation, the impact of giving students a voice. Module 4, bonfire behavior, the impact of our vocabulary, body language, and tone. Module 5 is called Defiant versus Deficient, the impact on universal expectations. And lastly, Module 6, Empower over Ego, the impact on collective responsibility. So let's start with Module 1, Trauma's impact on the brain, the body, and behavior. The objectives are to develop a working definition and understanding of trauma, realize and be able to articulate how trauma impacts the body and brain, and learn and practice strategies to proactively identify behaviors caused by trauma. This is an overview of the expectations. We are going to read and absorb the Trauma 101 handbook. We're going to add our personal definition of trauma to the discussion board, watch 3 video clips and answer 3 questions in the discussion board, and review scenarios, prepare responses in the discussion board to the scenarios, and then create a couple scenarios on your own. The final assessment for Module 1 is to create a 1-page resource highlighting the definition of trauma and how it impacts our body, our brain, our behavior that we can share with our colleagues. All final assessments you will email to me at heidi.lafleur@gmail.com. Module 2, Trauma-Informed versus Trauma-Informed in Action. The objectives are as follows. Learn the roles of trauma-informed people and how they impact those traumatized. Compare and contrast the differences between places that say they are trauma-informed and those who actually practice trauma-informed. And lastly, establish your role and plan for being trauma-informed yourself. The expectations here are we're going to read an article titled Trauma-Informed as a Verb and list your golden line on the discussion board for Module 2. A golden line is the line that sticks out most to you in the article. Some people will have the same line, some people will have different lines, and it's really cool to see what people are taking out of a certain article or reading piece. We're going to share that article with colleagues and have a discussion with some provided guidance questions. In one sentence, we're going to describe how you can be a trauma-informed verb in your school community. The final assessment for Module 2 is that you're going to choose one of the projects that are listed to inform others of what it means to be trauma-informed. Again, that final assessment can be emailed to me. Module 3, Acknowledgement before Accusation. Objectives. Reflect on our vocabulary patterns when dealing with problem behavior. Discover 10 ways to give students a voice in order to avoid emotional and physical dysregulation. And develop the 60-second strategy to respond to behavior rather than react to it. So the expectations in Module 3. We're going to read some of the chapters of my book called Those Kids. We're going to read Acknowledge Before Accusation and Compassion Before Curriculum. We're going to watch a video called Every Opportunity that is deconstructed and create 3 note cards as guided. So it's something that you can have by you all the time so you know how to respond versus react to behavior. The final assessment for Module 3 is reflecting versus reacting with student behavior. We're going to make a copy of a template called Reflection to Grow My Skills. We're going to complete it and then again email it. Module 4, Bonfire Behavior. The objectives are expand your understanding that your actions, your words, and your expressions play an integral role in keeping kids regulated. Grow your accountability in your actions, your words, and your expressions. And practice and create a plan to be proactive instead of reactive to behavior. Some of the expectations, we're going to read chapter out of those kids called Bonfire Behavior. We're going to watch a video called Dear Teacher. We're going to review and absorb the resource that I've created called Bonfire Behavior. We're going to read and absorb a presentation titled Responding versus Reacting to Student Behavior. And then we're going to fill out something called My Vocabulary in order to avoid power struggles, where you're going to look at some of your vocabulary that you have right now with your students, and then how can I switch that to be more proactive so I avoid power struggles at all costs. The Module 4 final assessment is My Why, My Impact. You're going to make a copy of the template and complete the slides, which talk about your why behind homework, your why behind what your philosophy is with tardy students, your why behind the needs of sensory in your classroom, and so on. Module 5 is Defiant versus Deficient, and the objectives are: discover the difference between deficient and defiant students, review classroom and school policies on detention, suspension, and discipline to determine if there is a consequence mindset or a punishment mindset, and then determine your mindset through experiencing multiple perspectives on discipline. Some of the expectations are: we are going to read Defiant versus Deficient and look at the discussion questions in the discussion guide and answer those. We're going to review and absorb my resource called Consequence Mindset versus Punishment Mindset, and we're going to reflect on that in the Module 5 discussion board. For your final assessment in Module 5, you are going to create a dream detention. I know, sounds kind of weird, right? But detention isn't going away, right? In-school suspension probably isn't going away. We want to go more toward a reflection space or a reflection room or a reflection circle. However, you're going to create your own dream detention where a student actually learns and practices that desired behavior. And you're going to tell me about it and what it would look like if you could actually create detention that was meaningful. And lastly, Module 6 is Empower over Ego. Our objectives are to create a school environment where all stakeholders practice trauma-informed actions, develop a plan to build relationships with support staff, lunch staff, bus drivers, and custodians, and then provide practical professional development to support your staff, right? To support the support staff, to support lunch staff, bus drivers, and custodians. Expectations are: we're going to read an article titled The Social Emotional Alphabet. We're going to review and absorb a presentation called Empower Over Ego. We're going to create our school community's list of stakeholders because that's different in every single school community. And then you're going to create a video or a presentation for all stakeholders, helping them understand why they are important, what we need from them, and how they are part of the collective responsibility to raise our future. The Module 6 final assessment is creating our collective responsibility. So using everything you did in Module 6, discuss and take action with any administrator to do all we can to ensure that all of the adults in our school community feel a part of the greater good. So I look forward to working with you. Please email me if you have any questions, thoughts, comments, concerns. I am very excited to be a part of this class with you. So let's get started.